Right?
record. All right. And recording. All right. Going to the cloud. Going to the cloud.
We're recording. We live in action.
Oh.
We got a repeat offender in a good way, a very, very special friend of mine, a mentor of mine, somebody that inspires me, which is the highest human act. Amanda, this is your second time coming on the Learn and Leverage podcast. However, this time it's the episode where we're premiering season 4. How do you feel about that?
Season 4.
Season 4.
Yeah, I feel like it just gets better, baby.
It does do that. So I got some follow-up questions, but for those that don't know, please give a elevator pitch as to who you are, what you do, and why you do it. For we don't know what we don't know, as you stated before.
Absolutely. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I am, let me do my Vanna here, Amanda Holbrook. So with Specialized Trust Company, we do the self-directed IRAs and 401ks. When I say we do those, our company actually holds them. So my role is I educate you on what you don't know as far as what investments are possible within IRAs, 401ks, et cetera. So if you have all of those accounts at the traditional banks, that means you can have those same accounts here. You can fund them with those accounts over here. And the whole point of what we do, it's been around since the 70s, I know, but it's invest in what you know. The stock market isn't everything. This is the vehicles that allow you to diversify, invest in what you know, get that money off of Wall Street and onto Main Street, to support your backyard, invest in your community, et cetera. And we show you how to do that.
I'm happy you said that. I want to piggyback off that comment. You mentioned stocks, right? So I believe on average, you can Google it, stocks bring about like 2%. But the thing about with self-directed IRAs and becoming a private lender, you and your investor get to determine what your number is that you're comfortable with. And on average, that's about 10%, which is an amazing return. But there's like a silent cold war between people that prefer to invest in real estate and people that prefer to invest in stocks. They hate each other. It's like, I would say, literally World War IV. What do you say to that?
So I don't know if they quite like hate each other. It's just, that's what they're used to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you dig into those stock portfolios, a lot of times you're like, oh, I got a REIT, it's just like a real estate mutual fund. That's not real estate though. This is a diversification play, so when you're looking at real estate versus stocks, okay, those are two different asset classes, right? And they're paper asset with how much control do you have over the stock market?
Valid.
0, right? You're buy, hold, hope, and brand that it's going up. Like you don't have control, especially when you're coming to retiring, you want consistent, predictable monthly income, right? You want a consistent, predictable monthly return. What gives you that? Real estate. So real estate it's not just paper, it's tangible, it's insured, it cash flows, whether it's rents or if you're lending on it, the insured part, is like is property insurance, right? Even if you're lending from your IRA is on the insurance policy. So if a tornado comes through, guess what? You're still covered. Like worst case.
At what lien position is your IRA in? And second part, 2-part question. I remember last time you mentioned that your children are actually private lenders. Mm-hmm. So please mention more on that because generational wealth is very important in every community. But like you stated before, we don't know what we don't know. So I'm just entirely just grateful for you to spread the knowledge on my platform to inform anybody that at least wants to give it an ear on how to become their own bank.
Yeah. So whether it's your IRA, your kids' IRAs, or you're partnering them together, when you're saying you can be the bank, that's what, when you guys hear private lending or promissory note, if you ever played Monopoly as a kid, that's all it is you're lending on an asset. In this case, you're lending on a property. Okay. So when you walk into the bank, right, who's holding the cards, the borrower or the bank? The bank. What's the bank charging? Interest, fees, points, etc. Right? Okay, so when your IRA is self-directed and you're lending on real estate, your IRA is the bank. Okay. And you get to negotiate those terms, right? So like you mentioned, like 10%. Okay. That's awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Predictable. And the return that you get is backed by real estate. Okay. So let's paint worst case scenario, right? Like we all hope it doesn't happen, right? Like what's your
worst case scenario?
Right. And like, I'm not Debbie Downer or negative Nancy here, guys, but you have to look at worst case scenario and what's your exit strategy. What does a bank do when someone does not pay their mortgage?
Pre-foreclosure first and then foreclosure after.
Yeah, foreclose, sign over, deed in lieu. Guess what your IRA does if the borrower doesn't pay? They get to take the house. Yes, it's the same rules. So worst case scenario, you're left with a house, a tangible asset that is worth more than what you lent on. Because if this is the value of the house, a bank's only going to lend like right up to there. They're not lending up here. This ain't 2007. Like this down here. Right?
That is amazing. And I know why they didn't teach us these type of stuff in school. I think in college, I didn't finish college. I'm a Kanye West college dropout. However, I am a real estate, got my master's. So what I will say, I know there's something about tax benefits that you haven't mentioned yet as far as when you invest from your or lend from your 401k. Could you expound on that?
Oh, absolutely. So this is the fun part, guys. You get paid, right? So when you take an IRA and you lend on a property, you're going to get repaid. You know, it's either when the borrower sells the property or they do what's called a cash out refi, right? So you lent from your IRA. So all of the profits, the principal, the interest, the points, all of that goes right back to your retirement account here. And it grows 100% tax sheltered. And if it's a Roth IRA, it's growing tax free. You know, I always have to throw that one in there. Roth, think Roth, tax free.
Roth, yes, when you think Roth, think tax free. When you think Roth, think tax free. That's why I like to associate two things. And I'm going to, well, before I get to that question, you stated your children are investors. Are they investing in, what type of deals are they investing in? And how did you and your spouse come to the decision to do that? Because I know that a lot of marriages crumble because of finances, and you guys are flourishing while your 7-year-old is playing quarterback and wide receiver while giving the bank open passes too.
Yeah. So for paying our kids, right? So to do Roth IRAs for your kids, you got to pay them, right? Anybody, guys, if you want a Roth IRA, you got to have earned income, heartbeat, social security number. So, I mean, we practice what we preach. You know, we have a company, we pay our kids through that company. They do work. They work. Trust me. I got photos here that will show you how they work. You know, so they earn their keep. So we pay them, you know, $7,000 a year, put it in their Roth IRA. I know we've done this for a number of years, but still they're not buying like a whole house. They're not lending on a whole deal in their retirement account, you know? So how do we get that growing? Well, we lend on deals. We play the bank. So we partner, you know, Aubrey and Colton's Roth IRAs with, you know, ours on deals. So we might be 80% and they might be 10 and 10. But guess what? Like if you're earning 10% in 2 points, so are they. That's exactly it. And that is tax-free profits for them, you know, and why we pay our kids too. And this is more of a business owner, you know, but when you pay employees, does that reduce the amount of taxes that you pay? It does. Yeah, so that's another, you know, again, I didn't give my disclaimer, but I don't recommend or endorse any sick investment as a sponsor. I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney, you don't have tax advice or legal advice. We are a passive custodian. Education purposes only. All right. Like
that was good.
They make me say that.
That was good. All right. Let's get a little sassy before we end. Can you share a nightmare story from your early days of investing that taught you a valuable lesson about self-directed IRAs?
Ooh, valuable lesson with self-directed IRAs. You know, so I don't know if this wasn't a self-directed deal, but it went from being a rental property, you know, like freaking background checks, just, you know, it went back to tenant screening, you know, just background checks, you know, we ended up being in an eviction scenario, you know, which you know, we're pretty easy to work with. It just got ugly. You know, but you've learned, right? Okay, so now it's the first time we ever had to go through it, so what is this process? What do we do next? Trying to work with them to make sure, that it was done correctly, and to make sure win-win, even though, it was unfortunate circumstances, like we wanted to still make sure like, hey, you guys are good, you're not gonna be throwing our names through the dirt,
Mhm.
but also like you can't just live for free either. Like that was one. Um, I'll tell you for lending, this is one I
Oh, this is
haven't done
good. This is
myself,
good. Thank you
but
ahead of
I've
time.
seen other clients do this. And this is why you always want to one, trust but verify, right? When you're looking at deals, you trust but verify, just like you vet a business partner, right? Do your due diligence. What's due diligence, Amanda? I mean, you have Google, you can run background checks, you can look at comps, it's not hard to do that, and it's a relationship. It's just like when you go to a bank, do they just hand you money? No, you got to fill out an application, promise them your firstborn, little DNA swab, show them all statements. It's
Mhm.
kind of the same principle, right? The other piece that I wanted to mention here is when you do lending, you want to make sure that it's recorded, right? Because that's your recourse, right? So that you have a first, second lien recorded on with the county, right? So whenever you close, you use a title company and make sure that that's done. It's just verifying after, hey, I sent this money, this was reported, whether it was a trust deed state or not, that your recourse is there. Um, that's where I've seen, I haven't personally, but if you've ever like read in the news of like, oh, this guy got over, on millions of dollars, da 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 da. And it's like they sold the same property 20 times, you
Well,
know.
there's two names that come to mind, but the behavior that you're referring to is common practice. But I have a genuine idea who you're referring to. Yeah,
Yes, so that's
yeah.
my point, guys, because with
I'm
self-direction,
I'm suddenly hungry for Little Caesars. The pizza, the pizza.
I know. That's all we're talking about is pizza.
Yeah, there's a pizza. It's $5 pizza. It's a good investment. Speaking of investment, we got three questions left. You got time for me?
Mhm. Right up.
What was the one of the biggest obstacles you faced when transitioning from self-directed investment strategy, and how did you overcome it?
Um, I think that it was finding, your team. I think that was the number
Thank
one.
you for saying that.
Yeah,
Thank you
it
for
was
saying that.
finding, right? Because at first, you're with an advisor and you're said, this is the world, this is the box. Well, you're getting outside the box. You're not going to be an expert at everything, you guys. Like, you can try to be that one man army, find that person that knows the thing, that's an expert in that arena. Like
Mhm.
we're the platform. I'm a big old nerd and I'm an expert in self-directed IRAs. Our team is, to know that you're going to get that education that you need, to do that next step or to get to that next deal or to shatter that glass ceiling. Right. But also, like you would be an extension of the team, someone that's bringing, value, education, as well as opportunities, because I can't sell investments. Right.
Mhm.
So that's part of the team. I had this conversation with another gentleman the other day. Another part of I call it like the Avenger squad. You guys already know I have a young son. Okay. You want your investment provider, you want your self-directed custodian, you want a really good CPA,
Mhm.
and depending on what you're investing in, usually like a real estate attorney, someone to go over and be like your legal eyes. Once you have like those people, and I'll say entity creation or tax
Mhm.
strategist is in there too, like go do it. It's not a one-man army, and that's the thing I like about like our space. There's none of that like scarcity mindset. And you know what I mean by this.
That's a fact. That's a big,
Like,
big,
don't look
big
at my
fact.
test. You can't look at my answer. Like, no, I'll tell you the freaking answer, And if you
Mhm.
do this today, it's never a matter of like if this makes sense. It's just when. Like it might not be the right time for like you and your family, but it likely will be at some point, and that's okay. It's the same thing. You have this conversation with investors all the time. They want to get into real estate, but they don't know how. You know,
Mm-hmm.
They watch from afar, or they check out
Mm-hmm.
your podcast, and then they feel like they know you, right?
That's true.
like
That's
they're
true.
secret agent you, like they're watching, but they don't quite know. So if that's you, if like you're listening to this doing that, ask the question, like, hop on my calendar.
Schedule an
I
appointment. The
I
barcode's
answer
right there.
I answer those questions, and even if it's not, at least you have a plan, right? Because if you fail to have a plan, what are you planning to do?
Fail.
Mm-hmm.
But can I piggyback off that statement?
Piggyback.
I do agree with that wholeheartedly. If you fail to have a plan, you plan to fail. However, there's a common misconception about failing in general. There's a such thing as failing forward, right?
Mhm.
So we mentioned, or we may or may not have mentioned prior people who got in trouble with dealing with other people's money and self-directed IRAs, myself included. I share with you, I had similar bad stories in the beginning, as far as, well, not that bad, but just falling on my face, falling forward. But once you pay back those debts and you come out and you find out your investor actually wants to work with you again, you know what I'm saying? Everybody respects the person before everybody. You're going to respect the person you see in the mirror if you keep trying, no matter if you fail. So every loss is a lesson as long as you stay in a real state of mind. I just wanted to point that out. But still plan though, and still write stuff down.
Absolutely. That's just like, and equate this, since we're talking retirement accounts. Like, don't lie to yourself. You picked a crappy stock and it didn't do what you wanted it to do. Did you stop stocks altogether? No, you just pick something different, And so that's the same with real estate. Not everything's going to be a home run. And yes, but fail fast and fail forward, right? Because you learned from it, you grew from it. Like, yeah, I've
And
seen and I've been through personally PETA experiences. You guys all know what PETA is, right?
no, what's PETA for those that don't know?
Pain in the ass experiences.
Mhm.
If you grow from those, don't end
Yes,
up in my PETA file, because yes, I have one.
got you,
But
got you.
you learn more from your losses a lot of times than you do from your wins,
And
so
I always say too, not to cut you off, you can learn from the loss of other people before you even make the loss.
that's the
So
power
like
of the network.
you can learn from the mistakes of others. There's books like Richest Man in Babylon, shameless
Mhm.
plug, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Think and Grow Rich, that's been around since biblical times. And I actually have albums with the same name. Go get those. But those concepts and those financial dealings still reside today. The only thing that changes is the sun and the moon, yin and yang. But outside of that, I believe those same concepts still ring true today,
They do.
2024.
They do. It's not rocket science. You're not recreating the wheel. Yes, times have changed. Social media has changed. Blah, 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 blah. Like, there's all this noise out there. Stick with the basic principles.
Okay.
That is exactly it. Like Rich Dad Poor Dad, like the Robert Kiyosaki methodology. If your assets
Mhm.
pay for your lifestyle, have multiple revenue streams. If 2020 taught you anything, that is one of them. These are all
You're good.
concepts that,
You're good.
you just apply, dude. You just apply, and you can apply it. That's the nice thing about self-direction, is if you're doing this outside your retirement account, it's literally a mirror what you can do inside, you know.
Mm.
So I was joking earlier. I'm like, it's mathing. Is it mathing for you? They're like, what are you talking about? Mathing for me. I'm like, look at
It's
the
not
numbers.
mathing. It's not
Yeah,
mathing. Or it's giving broke.
yes, look at the numbers, man. If the numbers make more sense over here and it's a less risky, because there's always some risk, it's calculated though, versus up, down, up, down. I
Mhm.
was looking at a statement, it was talking about like a 17% year one and then like 3% year two. What?
Mm.
Like, what do you mean? Like, that doesn't make
Mhm.
any sense. But when you average all of that out, it's what, 5%? If that,
Correct.
and that's what, a lot of folks are doing. They have them in high yield savings accounts, et cetera. Like, have your money work more for you in what you believe in, what is tangible, what's your backyard, or even if it's not your backyard.
Mhm.
Um, you're not given these options from the traditional realm. Like, I just know that doesn't exist. Even your advisors may they may even invest this way themselves, but they legally can't tell you to do so because they can lose their license. They can get fined.
That's a
Um,
fact.
it's crazy. Um, but you're number one, look out for number one. I always joke and say, like, once you self-direct, like, you the boss, because you are.
You
Like,
the boss, you the company, you the employee, you did everything because you make the decisions at that point. You determine your return rate, you determine where your money goes. It's a kind of misconception because I've had I believe like 19 jobs from my sophomore year of high school to about 24, 25 when I figured it out. And
that's a
all those
lot.
401k, it's a lot, right?
That's a lot, dude.
I had a problem not being the boss. That's our concept. I had a real problem with that, but I had to realize becoming the boss becomes being a good follower as well. So
Absolutely.
back to your concept of team. That's why I was really happy when you said that because I have to work on that myself, and I'm happy you're on my team, Amanda, because you're amazing. You are the queen of 401k, and all you do is add value. We got 2 questions left. You ready? This is the home run stage.
Go.
All right. Advice for the newbies. Based on your experiences, what's the one piece of advice you wish someone had given you when you started your investment journey?
Okay. So I have one here, is action equals results. And
Mm-hmm.
where that comes from is, don't get stuck with the analysis paralysis. Like, it's infotainment, right? If you learn and learn and learn, like, learning's great. I had a mentor of mine tell me, I'd rather be ignorance on fire than knowledge on ice. So I was watching
What
deals
is
go.
that? What is that? I gotta write that down. What is? I'd rather be.
I'd rather be ignorance on fire than knowledge on ice. I don't think it's a secret. I'm a big old nerd, but I was over analyzing. I was over researching. And then I'd miss opportunities, and that sucked. I was getting frustrated. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like,
Mm.
I know I'm not like I'm not like dumb as a box of rocks here. Like, I know what I'm doing. Why? Like, and everybody gets that frustration level. So that would be my advice. Is learn, but take action. Because guess what else? You learn from action. I always like to say, especially with private lending, that's usually where folks will like dip their toes in the self-directed arena. Ain't nothing wrong with earning while you learning.
What do you mean by that? What goes out with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you're private lending, you're earning money, right?
Mm.
Are you not learning from that experience and how it works and who the players are and what insurance looks like and what a title company does? And then if you're doing they're watching you as the borrower, whether you're doing a flip or a burr or how you've done it. If they ask you a question, are you going to tell them, I can't give you that answer?
And can you please, I actually asked this question the other day. What does BRRRR stand for? It's not
Oh,
just a Gucci Man ad lib.
yeah. It doesn't mean I'm cold either.
Yeah.
Okay. You buy it. Okay. You renovate it. You rent it on out. You refinance that sucker, and then you repeat it.
Mm. And
Brr.
make sure, thank you again for your time, Amanda. I've actually, one of the reasons I do this podcast, thanks, selfishly speaking, is so I can learn as well. So if everybody can happen to learn after I learn, or we learn together, that'd be beautiful. Thank you for your time. You are an amazing mom, person, leader, and I look forward to any deals I bring your way. And please tell me your next public speaking event. I will be there.
Oh, next public speaking events. Where am I at? I know I'm going to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, but I'm not speaking this time. I spoke earlier this year. Where am I speaking at next? Oh no, I am speaking in Nashville. Sorry, I forgot about
Nashville.
that.
When
So
is that?
actually, that is the 17th, the evening of the 17th of September. I'm speaking in Nashville. I had to find the location, but it's part of one of the Nashville Invest Her chapter.
What is
So if you,
Nashville? Go ahead,
yeah,
shameless plug. Let's plug it
yeah,
in. Nashville Invest
well, if
Her.
you're
What
in
does that mean?
Nashville, come see me. I'll be
All
in
right.
town.
I'll make sure to tag the information below. And does that her stand mean like I can't come?
No, you can come. Guys, come.
All right, good, good, good. All right, I'll see you soon. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for being in the rest of
Appreciate you,
my
man. Always.